This video will basically talks about the most important moments of the aviation. 4 planes will be exposed. They are not the best airplanes of all, but in my opinion, these planes have changed the way we see the sky. Join me in this wonderful ride, and I assure you this will change the way you see the aviation. The Wright brothers. On December 17, 1903, Oliver Wright piloted the first powered airplane 20 feet above the ground. The flight lasted for 12 seconds and covered a distance of over 120 feet. 3 more flights were made that day with Oliver's brother Wilbur piloting the record flight lasting 59 seconds over a distance of 852 feet. The P-51 Mustang. The P-51 Mustang was an American long-range single-seat fighter and fighter bomber used during the World War II, the Korean War, and several other conflicts. During the World War II, Mustang pilots claimed 4,950 enemy aircraft shot down. This plane has an engine of over 1,000 horsepower and was the first not registered plane to beat the sound barrier. But this was only possible when the plane was at full throttle and going vertically down. We could assume that this plane was the plane in charge of winning the World War II because it was the best plane at the moment. Also, this plane keeps being the fastest propeller airplane ever invented. I will let you to hear the beautiful engine sound of the plane the rest of the clip. America's first jet plane, the P-51. The Bell P-51 Air Comet was the first American jet fighter aircraft designed and built during the World War II. The United States Air Force was not impressed by its performance and cancelled the contract when more than a half of the aircraft's order had been produced. For the record, no P-51 went to combat. Bell aircraft was chosen for the project in part because of its location near the General Electric engine parts in New York and Massachusetts. Aircraft flew almost exactly a year after development began. To ensure security, the XP-59 was fitted with a dummy propeller whenever it was towed on the ground. The development of these planes were secretly. No one knew about the project except for Bell workers and General Arnold.
Toward late afternoon, the wheels of the aircraft actually lifted a couple of feet off the ground. Stanley, a brilliant engineer and a relentlessly hard-driving personality who seldom counted patience among his virtues, was all for making the first flight then and there. Larry Bell, however, would have none of it. High-ranking official observers weren't due in for 2 more days. On the following day, October 1st, Stanley made 4 additional high-speed taxis, during the first of which, the XP-59 leapt some 25 feet off the surface of the lake bed, and on subsequent runs, it climbed to as high as 100 feet that day. Unofficially, the XP-59A had unquestionably flown, but the brass hadn't been there to see it, so officially, it hadn't really happened. Finally, on October 2nd, the brass was on hand. At about 1 in the afternoon, Stanley advanced the throttles, released the brakes, and slowly at first, the aircraft moved across the hard-baked clay. After what seemed like an unusually long takeoff roll, its wheels finally left the ground, and less than 13 months after commencing the project, America had officially...
The Blackbird SR-71. The Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird was an advanced long-range Mach 3 static recognized aircraft. It was developed as a black project from the Lockheed A-12 recognized aircraft in the 1960s by Lockheed Martin. Clarence Kelly Johnson was responsible for many of the design's innovative concepts. During the recognized missions, the SR-71 operated at high speed and altitude to allow it to outrace threats. If a surface-to-air missile launch was detected, the standard evasive action was simply to accelerate and outrun the missile. The SR-71 served with the U.S. Air Force from 1964 to 1998. Of the 32 aircraft built, 12 were destroyed in accidents, and none were lost in enemy action. The SR-71 was being given several nicknames, including Blackbird and Habbo. Since 1976, it has held the world record of the fastest air-breathing manned aircraft, a record previously held by the JF-12. The records of the SR-71. First, Los Angeles, California to Washington, D.C., a distance of 2,299 miles, and an average speed of 2,144 miles per hour and an elapsed time of 64 minutes and 20 seconds. West Coast to East Coast. Distance 2,404 miles, average speed of 2,124 miles per hour, and an elapsed time of 67 minutes and 44 seconds. The SR-71 also holds the speed over a recognized course record for flying from New York to London, a distance of 3,058 miles, and an elapsed time of 1 hour and 54 seconds.
To buy the material from the world's largest supplier, the Soviet Union. In flight, the titanium skin reaches 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, causing it to expand by more than half a foot. This heat-induced expansion posed a real challenge to the Skunk Works team.
When in design they found that the aircraft was heated and then cooled, then the titanium skin would buckle and not return.
The X-15. The North American X-15 was a rocket-powered aircraft operated by an United States Air Force and the National Aeronautic and Space Administration, NASA, as a part of the X-plane series of experimental aircraft. The X-15 set speed and altitude records in early 1960s, reaching the edge of outer space and re-entering with valuable data used in aircraft and spacecraft design. As of 2012, the X-15 holds the official record of the fastest speed ever reached by a manned aircraft. During the X-15 program, 13 different flights by 8 pilots met the USAF space flight creation by exceeding the altitude of 50 miles or 80 kilometers, thus qualifying the pilots for astronaut status. The USAF pilots qualified for USAF astronaut wings, while the civilian pilots were awarded a NASA astronaut wing in 1995, 35 years after the last X-15 flight. Of all the X-15 missions, 2 flights by the same pilot qualified as space flights per the International Federation Aeronautique Internationale definition of a space flight but exceeding 100 kilometers of altitude.
Launch checks continue as the pilot tests the attitude control rocket. The high-altitude control system used when the X-15 is on an altitude flight profile above the usable atmosphere. At extremely high altitudes, the conventional aerodynamic control surfaces are not sufficiently responsive for complete flight control. So attitude control rockets are necessary. Pitch and yaw rockets are located in the nose. Roll rockets are located on each wingtip. The underside of the X-15 is now building up a coating of frost on the outside of the liquid oxygen tank due to the intense cold of the liquid oxygen at a temperature of minus 300 degrees Fahrenheit. The auxiliary power units are now started. Note the exhaust trail going over the horizontal stabilizer. Launch. Light roll-off occurs to the shackle release. The X-15 engine is started, and the aircraft accelerates rapidly, quickly leaving the B-52 far behind.
Thank you for joining me in this awesome adventure. See you later.